Sure. My name is Marc Himelstein. I am the director of Tigers Authentics.
Okay. And so tell us a bit about how you got here, the long version.
The long version.
Of how you got into be the director of
So, living in Chicago, decided I wanted to go to school at Indiana University to study sports marketing. That's back in 1994. Graduated in 98. And during my time at Indiana, I interned with the Indiana Pacers, the Score sports radio station in Chicago, and the Indianapolis Indians AAA baseball team, doing marketing, promotions, whatever they asked. After I graduated, I got a job with the Cubs, making $6 an hour in their ticket office, and thought I was king of the world, right? And then left there after about a month and a half, and got my first full-time job was with the Chicago Condors, who were an expansion team in the Women's American Basketball League. And on the job for 6 months, the league declared bankruptcy, and I was back to square one. I then spent the 1999 season with the Chicago White Sox in their marketing department, and then got another full-time job with the Erie Seawolves, who are currently the Tigers AA affiliate. At the time, they were with the Angels my first season, and then switched to the Tigers during my second season in Erie. After there, I went to work for Cal Ripken Jr. in Baltimore. He bought a minor league baseball team and moved him to Aberdeen, which is his hometown in Maryland, and I was a director of retail for his baseball team, and spent 4 years there doing running their store, merchandising, licensing, and then took over stadium operations work, clubhouse, team travel. Minor leagues, you do a little bit of everything. And it kind of got a little homesick and left and went back to Chicago and worked for Aramark at Navy Pier for a year as a director of housekeeping at Navy Pier. It was a switch. It was a way to get me in with a major company that does a lot of sports and entertainment work. And while I was there, I didn't like my job. It was a miserable experience for a year at Navy Pier. And but I got a lot of great experience. I learned a lot of things about working with people and unions, stuff like that. And I was looking for a job, and back in Chicago, what am I going to do? And looking at websites, and went, well, let me go check the Tigers website and tigers.com and job opportunities, and there was a Authentics position, director of Authentics. And what is that? So I started reading the description, and everything I had ever done up to that point was basically leading me to this job. I worked in sports retail, worked with athletes, autograph signings, knowledge of memorabilia business, licensing, all those different kind of things. And I applied for the job. I reached out to my former boss in Erie, who to write a letter of recommendation because they were Tigers affiliate. His former boss used to be a VP here. I still don't know who that was, but they wrote letters of recommendation on my behalf, and my current boss, Steve Quinn, our CFO, had those letters during my interview, and brought them up, and it all just worked out from there. And I got hired about a month or so after my interview, and I've been here for 11 years now.
Director of Authentics. What does that look like? What's your daily task and kind of roles you take on every day?
Sure. Right now we're in our slowest time, January, February, leading up to spring training. And so basically right now we're running a lot of auctions on MLB.com and processing a lot of orders on MLB.com store. We lead up to spring training, and sometime mid-March we'll start getting items shipped to us from Lakeland that we'll start making available for sale, and we'll be getting ready for opening day, which is our busiest day of the season, of the year. Right. And we collect and start laying out a plan of public autograph signings and working with players and their agents on who we're going to schedule and when. This happens to be the 35th anniversary of the '84 World Series Championship this year, so we're trying to push towards incorporating a lot of those players into our activities this season. And then we just roll kind of from one game to the next, and collecting bats and jerseys and dirt from opening day. We'll authenticate buckets of dirt, sell dirt, jerseys, caps, helmets, bases, whatever people are looking for. We will try to collect at some point and make available rosin bags included from the pitcher's mound each day. So that leads through the season, and the season's busy. When the team's at home, when the team's gone, it's kind of slow, and gearing up for the next homestand kind of thing, and inventory, and making more preparations and plans for how to liquidate what we have. And then when the season ends, we kind of clear out the clubhouse of any equipment that's left available for us to sell. we'll have a big sale in the off season, October, November, and then that leads into holiday sales, and we do a lot of business online during November, December, and then the calendar flips over and we start all over again.
Online marketing has increased so much. Has that really affected you within the union?
Yeah, well, we are limited to our how we're able to sell online due to rules, MLB rules. We can only sell on MLB.com, and so which is Tigers.com is a part of that. So we can't go to eBay or these other third-party groups and sell. So when I first started, we were running auctions, like one auction every 2 weeks, and now we're running them daily. So that every night items are finishing. So we're trying to keep people's interest ongoing versus just checking in on every Monday and every Sunday night. There was no online business my first 3 or 4 years here. And so now we've gone from having limited amount of retail opportunities online to now online being anywhere between 30 to 40% of our total yearly business. And when the team fluctuates between being in the playoffs or not, that affects our overall business operation. How many tickets are being sold? How many people are actually coming here? And kind of beholden to a lot of different factors that I don't control. Winning being the cure-all for everything. And if our team's winning, we'll do more business, more activity online. We'll do more sales during games. If we're not, then it's it's a struggle sometimes.
Got you. And so, basically, where's been the biggest challenges for you? So you've had success and things have worked out for you pretty well, as I can imagine, being here 12 years. What are some challenges you face and kind of overcome them?
So sure. Well, we're experiencing. We've had 12 seasons of Authentics being sold into the marketplace. So Detroit and the economy is still not great. The amount of people leaving Michigan, leaving the city, decreases the amount of people who are Tigers fans who come to games regularly.
Right.
So we have a saturated market, and declining attendance right now because the team's just not contending. So those are big factors. Dating back to when I first started, I had to learn kind of the rules, the ropes of the clubhouse, and where am I allowed to go and at what times. Getting the trust of the players so that they understood what I'm doing. Those were all kind of challenges to start with. We had a very veteran team, guys who've been around for 10 or 15 years, Von Rodriguez, Gary Sheffield, those kind of guys. We never really had any problems in the clubhouse, but who was this kid, why is he here, kind of thing at the beginning. And to the point now where I can pretty much do what I want. We've got a great group of guys, and we don't have those veterans like we did before. We've got a lot of rookies who are trying to stay in the big leagues, who want to make it, and they're much more accommodating on their time into cooperating in autographs, signing autographs, and participating and giving us game used shoes or batting gloves, things that they actually own versus team equipment.
And then how'd you overcome that?
Comes in, I got to just know them, say hi, how are you, that kind of thing, how's your family, and that just came naturally, and over time it's developed. We have bigger challenges in the clubhouse because there's kind of this, for 100 plus years there was a, unwritten rule. I guess most people just in Denver went in the clubhouse. Things just didn't, we weren't taken from the clubhouse. And so, working through those challenges with, the equipment manager who'd been here for 30 years at the time and doing things his way, and now, being told, there's other ways that we're going to do things because there's a business opportunity here. And so overcoming that, and sometimes the MLB had to get involved. Our upper management had to get involved to pave the way, and we worked through those things to now there's we haven't had a problem in years. And things just kind of work well. Everybody knows their role and what's expected of them, and you follow the rules, and that's pretty much it.
Right. Okay. Well, good to know. Obviously, there's always going to be some challenges.
Sure. The politics of any working place is different, and when you introduce multi-millionaires into the equation, and a lot of them, and the amount of money that gets thrown around in baseball, that provides other challenges.
Right. Okay. So, Mark, today, obviously, you've been here for 12 years. Where do you see yourself 5 to 10 years? Is there any advancement? Are you trying to do something different? What's the
Sure. There's a couple different avenues here within the organization I think could present itself to me sometime in the near future. One of which is I just got back from a week at fantasy camp, and loved every minute I was there. I wasn't playing, but I was there learning kind of that business. Jerry, who's our fantasy camp director, is in his 70s, and there's no plan right now of, whenever he retires, there's no one who knows what else to do. How do you run the fantasy camps? And so, that's something that maybe down the road I might be able to take on, which would be great. Whenever he decides he's ready to move on and retire, that would be an interesting facet, because you're dealing with the alumni, a lot of the players, who are guys that I do signings with now. So there's kind of that natural fit. Some things in the clubhouse, dealing with equipment and ordering and inventory. We have share a lot of the same licensees, a lot of the same vendors, and so maybe there's some work there that I could get my hands on. And with the Little Cedars Arena, there's a lot of opportunity, because while they sell game-used hockey equipment, they don't have an authentication business, and those are two different things. And I think it's possible that there's some opportunities that could develop, down there or across the street over there, with this type of business. And if it's not here, there's potential growth in Major League Baseball. They've expanded and do Star Wars Authentics. And 2 years ago, I went down with Major League Baseball and Topps to the Star Wars Celebration Orlando, and helped run the autograph pavilion. I spent 4 days with Peter Mayhew. He played Chewbacca, and doing autograph signings, and it was great. And then in April of this year, it's in Chicago, and I'm planning on going back to help out again. So there's any number of different things that could present itself in the coming years.
If you knew this career path was going to come, what advice would you kind of give him in those shoes to help him out?
Sure. Well, at the time, right, there was no authentication business, and even sports retail wasn't as booming of a business as it is now. So going to college and study sports marketing, I don't know if I necessarily would have chosen that path knowing what I know now. I may have done more, I graduated with a sports marketing degree and a business minor. I probably would have done more marketing as a major, or maybe even retail. While retail in terms of the way we know it at malls and stuff like that is hurting in terms of sports retail, and a lot of it being online. There is a large percentage of people that want it from the ballpark, because it feels like, even though it's the same cap you get shipped online, it's more authentic when you get it here. So there is no, while a lot of our business, MLB runs our retail operation on MLB.com, and that is a growing business for them. But there still is a large, when there's people here at the ballpark, they're coming in and buying caps, buying jerseys, buying T-shirts. Women's apparel is, it's almost a 50-50, a business now between men and women's retail, and that wasn't the case years ago. Well, maybe 40-40 in children's. So it's grown, and how do you adapt with those trends? It's something I probably would have spent more time on, at 18 years old versus knowing I want to work in baseball and I don't care what I want to do. At the time, that seemed like a legitimate, thought process. 25 years later, you know better.
Right. Yeah, you learn from experience for sure. So working in your job, and just even in the roles you partake in and the people you surround yourself with, what's the most important skill to be successful in your position? Sure.
Well, that's a great question, because for having people skills applies to every job here, and customer service. I think of myself as a customer service job first, and then a sales job second. And so if you don't have those people skills, it's hard to get people to, people are buying, memorabilia or T-shirts or tickets from you, but in some ways they're also buying a trust in you. And so being able to develop those relationships, a lot of our business is repeat. And so, developing those relationships with people, having those people skills and customer service skills are paramount. You can't be successful without them. And then from there, knowing about the business of baseball and the history of baseball, especially because a lot of our memorabilia applies to, especially with Miguel Cabrera, who's going for 500 home runs. All right, he's at 465 now. When he gets to 475, he ties Willie Stargell, and he passes Willie Stargell, and those things, if you're fortunate enough to have someone like Miguel Cabrera, are important to know. If you got a group of rookies, you got a long ways before they start passing milestones. Basics, accounting is important, and knowing how to do inventory and those kind of things. But people skills and learning how to manage your time are very important.
As usual. Yeah, that's in any job.
Any job.
Profession, really. So anybody who's, say I'm a kid who's coming up in like a sports marketing program or sports management program, what advice would you give me as an aspiring, student trying to come up and be
Sure.
successful in this business?
Get involved as soon as you can, even if it's in high school. When I was in Indiana, I was very fortunate. The NCAA headquarters was in Indianapolis, Big Ten headquarters in Chicago, and all the time there was NCAA or Big Ten events in Indianapolis. And I got myself hooked in with some volunteer groups and was driving up to Indianapolis all the time to volunteer on weekends at these different events. And making contacts, keeping up with those contacts. I would be in the media room and making sure that the trash was put away. I would be behind the court or behind the basket during basketball games, making sure the media didn't cross the line and interfere with the play of the game. Whatever they needed, and I was just willing to do that. And at Indiana University, I was involved in a lot of other activities too, and volunteered at football games or basketball games, and you never know what activity you do might lead to a opportunity for a job. And for me, I volunteered and worked at the football game running a booth selling retail. Put that on my resume, which landed me a retail internship with the Indians, which then helped me land a job. I didn't know where it was going to take me or that kind of thing, but
Right.
that one volunteer experience led to what now has turned into a sports retail career. And you just never know. So that's why they get involved and meet as many people as you can, and establish those relationships with those people.
Right.
I used to get a lot of, when I would speak at various places before I moved here, I would get a lot of resumes from people and emails and stuff. And when I was in college, I had to call various teams and interview them for papers or reports. I was doing those kind of things. And I would say, do that. People were nice enough when I was in college to take time out to answer my questions. And so I've always done the same thing. If people call with questions, hey, I'm a student at Michigan State University or Wayne State University or Indiana University, if you have 10 minutes to answer some questions, by all means, feel free to fire away. And I think that's really important to give people the what to expect.
Right.
Lots of people here in sports, the team don't make it past 3 years. They get burned out. Or there's people like myself or Jordan who are kind of lifers who will probably be doing this in some capacity forever. There's more than just teams. There's intercollegiate athletics, there's Nike, Wilson Sports. There's all a number of different kinds of sports that sporting activities or companies you can get involved with. So you got to kind of feel your way through and what best serves you.
What is the one thing you kind of look back, or maybe a couple of things that kind of made you say, wow, I love being the director of athletics here?
Sure. Well, first, boy, that's a tough one. Getting to experience the Triple Crown was something that nobody working in baseball had ever done. The last time there was a Triple Crown previous to Miguel Cabrera was 1967 with Carl Yastrzemski. Well, there really wasn't sports retail at that time, in the way we know it now, where maybe you had a Boston Red Sox t-shirt, but nothing that's that Triple Crown or that kind of thing. So there was no roadmap for how do you deal with a Triple Crown, right? There's MVPs every year, that kind of stuff. So what do you do? And so that was really exciting to be part of that experience. Going to the World Series, we unfortunately we didn't win, but that was, amazing. We got to fly in a charter plane to San Francisco. Got to take my dad. It's an incredible experience. We won Retailer of the Year in 2012. That's something that in my office here I have a crystal baseball cap and it says Retailer of the Year. Like you can't that's just amazing.
We'll have
to be able to be
picture
singled out
that.
by your peers for that kind of activity. It's just real special. I love being at the ballpark. I love the crowd noise, the excitement. Jim Tomei was here. He had his 600th career home run. He wasn't on the Tigers, but wow, that was still really cool to be part of.
Right.
So there's just, never ends. Seeing guys make their debut. We did a signing, was it 2 years ago with Dixon Machado, and like the next day he hit his first career home run. And so like it was really cool to be able to go up to him and say, hey, congratulations, and get hugs and stuff like that. Like that's just really neat. And those kind of things to me never get old. If they do, you shouldn't be, you should move on from your from your career. I should move on, but I love being at the ballpark. You can't beat